I think I know where I want to go number 3. This is a place because I do think the next two are more disappointing, oddly enough.
Sure.
This is one that we got right, kind of. You and I banged the drum all offseason that this team was going to be a letdown, that this quarterback was going to be a letdown, that this offensive coordinator, who just got fired today, was going to be a letdown, that this coach was a lame duck coach, who's now fans are calling for his job, predictably.
Sure.
Nick Wright moved off of his Super Bowl pick officially this past week, on Monday, which was interesting to watch. And that's the Chicago Bears. The reason they're on this list is because what did we have them at? 7 wins? What's our win total for the Bears?
The Bears? Let's see. Hold on.
We were way below like the media on this. We were like very much on the other side of like this team's going to be not that good.
8 wins.
Okay, they're not hitting that, right? Like no way. I don't think so.
Probably not. I think 6 is probably their absolute ceiling at this point.
So right now they're at 4-5. They're in last place significantly in a admittedly very competitive NFC North. But I was watching the New England game on Sunday. I watched a little bit of it. Admittedly, it was like really hard to stay in there. But I read that they didn't have a drive that sustained more than 21 yards of offense against the New England Patriots. They got their breaks beat by New England at home, by the way. And then just today, they fired Shane Waldron, their offensive coordinator. We told you this OC was bad. We told you your offensive line was an absolute turnstile. And we told you that this rookie quarterback was not ready to be a star player in the NFL based on his mechanics or lack thereof. We told you. And that being said, we weren't convicted enough, were we? I mean, honestly, like looking back at it, we said this team would be okay. It would be a losing team. It would be an 8-9 team, but they would, show signs of life. I think this year's team is worse than last year's team, despite all the additions.
They definitely are.
I mean, it's clear. Like, they're worse than last year's team. Last year's 100%. Team won 7 games. I think this team's going to be lucky if you look at their schedule coming up, and it's a gauntlet. They might lose out. And
straight up.
You talked about this brilliantly, but I think there's one major thing here that really matters the most, and that was something that you got right that I didn't even put as much value in as you did. But I got to give you a tip of the cap here. Taking Rome Odunze at number 9 overall was, in hindsight,
terrible idea.
Such a bad pick. Not that he's a bad player. You and I both got love for Rome as a decent wide receiver, but man, that is one that you just could not afford. I want to pitch it back to you. Where do you even stand on this team at this point? Because it's been so bad the last few weeks, and culminating with the firing that will assuredly lead to Eberflus being fired soon too.
It's the most inept franchise in the NFL right now, and that feels really good coming from a guy who reps this city, because we held that crown for years, boy. We held it for years, and the reality is, heavy lies the crown, baby. It is a cheap ownership. It is bad GM. I don't care what you guys say. Let Poles cook. Ryan Poles fucking sucks at his job, because this is my thing. 2 guys with 500 subscribers on YouTube should not be here beating the drum about taking a left tackle to protect your number 1 overall pick. Your number 1 overall pick, franchise changing quarterback, needs a freaking left tackle to protect him. But you guys wanted to get flashy. You wanted to go, we had a war room with 2 different group thinks of who was gonna. We had one group wanting to draft Rome. We had one group wanting to draft a left tackle. That is ridiculous. That shows to me, how are you having 2 separate conversations about the number 9 pick? You guys all need to be making decisions together. This is where you are bad at this. You're not hitting on deep. You're not Brad Holmesing this. You're not getting Brian Branches in the second. You're not getting Amon-Ra in the fourth. You're not getting Aleem McNeil's in the third. You're getting nobodies. So you have the first pick and the 9th pick. That is a godsend. That can change a franchise. I mean, look. We've seen it happen. We watched it actually last year with CJ Stroud and Will Anderson. You saw two guys go in the top 10 that changed a franchise completely. But they also brought in a new offensive coordinator, and they brought in a culture head coach guy. You guys decided to move forward with Matt Eberflus, who is objectively awful at his job. Shane Waldron has been objectively awful. Hell no.
Only lost.
But they sit there and they say, well, you know, after they got Montez Sweat, that defense was really good. Yeah, because other teams were looking at the schedule and going, we have Chicago this week. Right at home. It's okay. And then they played better defense, and everybody was like, oh, well, hey, dang, all right, cool. Don't count these guys out. But you know what? We counted them out because it is a bad culture. It is bad. Jim Harbaugh begged to go there, by the way. Jim Harbaugh told the McCaskies, I want to be your head coach. Guess what Jim Harbaugh's doing now? Completely changing the culture in Los Angeles. I mark my words, right now, they will win a Super Bowl within 5 years. 1,000%. Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert will absolutely win a Super Bowl in the next 5 years. And you know what you guys will be doing? Picking top 10 again. Because you're going to ruin this quarterback. You're going to ruin the culture. There's no culture to be... You guys sitting... I go online every day. I see, Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson is not going to want to come coach there. Ben Johnson's going to want $10+ million a year. You guys are paying Matt Eberflus $4.
I got a question.
You guys like to keep it cheap.
Yeah.
It's inept.
No, it's... I don't even want to take the mic back because it's a fucking spot-on rant. But another thing, too, that went under the radar, I think, and looking back on it, I go, that doesn't make sense either. I got a question for you. Why did you guys extend and pay DJ Moore before a season of seeing what he looked like with this quarterback?
DJ Moore told ownership. DJ Moore told Ryan Poles, I think it's a bad idea to move on from Justin Fields. He told you that. Now, what you could have done, and I'm never going to knock moving on from Justin Fields to go to Caleb Williams. I'm not, because Caleb Williams, I get it, right? You have this kid who's quote unquote generational. Again, we need to stop throwing that word around. He is not generational. He is generationally ass. He's nothing special. He's nothing special.
Real quick on that. I'm not a big ban guy. I'm not a big censorship guy. You know what I mean? I like to keep it loose. I want a lifetime ban on the word generational. I really do, because again,
we're 0 for 2.
And let's just be clear here. I'm really gonna be respectful on this, because I'm just a guy. Like, these guys got to go out and play, and we respect the players. There's a lot of career left for this kid, and he does have talent. He's flashed it. He didn't win a Heisman 100%. For no reason. But look, bro,
100%.
Let's just be all the way honest. Just based on eye tests, fuck the numbers. I don't even have the numbers in front of me. Based on eye tests, Jaden Daniels has cleared that conversation's over.
The conversation's over.
That's done until next season. We'll restart from there, right? This is like CJ versus the field on that one.
Fully.
But Drake May and him just went head-to-head this past week in Soldier Field. Drake May looks
conversation's over, in my opinion,
better.
too.
He looks significantly better, and not only that, but Drake May didn't even play for the first half of the year. So Drake May is just in there getting reps with, Mario Douglas as his number one wide receiver. It's not close. And not only that,
if you really want to go there, Bo Nix looks better.
Bo Nix looks better. Bo Nix looks better. And again, this is with all the sincerity from the bottom of my heart. There's time. I'm not going to be that asshole who gets on a mic and is like, he's a bust. We don't like Anthony Richardson just got benched. We have no idea what the future holds.
He's not a bust, but he has been terrible to this point.
My best quarterback.
My problem is that if you came on this channel over the summer, I was banging this table right here saying this kid is Kyler Murray, Baker Mayfield. He is not Andrew Luck. He is not Patrick Mahomes. Don't you disrespect Patrick Mahomes by putting them in the same conversation. You have to earn the right to be Patrick Mahomes. You don't just get told you're Patrick Mahomes. I understand there's quote unquote similar things. I don't personally, I don't see it. I don't see it. I see because anybody can roll out of the pocket and loop-de-loop and pull and throw downfield. There's a lot of quarterbacks in this league that can do that. I see much more Baker Mayfield. I see much more Kyler Murray. By the way, I love Baker Mayfield. I really like Kyler Murray. I think that is an absolute and utter compliment. Russell Wilson, even, I said. It took a minute. And it took a minute for it's going to take a minute for Caleb. But I'm sorry, you're not Andrew Luck, and you're damn sure not Patrick Mahomes. And frankly, I feel pretty comfortable saying you never will be, because it's not it's not even his fault. There is no culture there. Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs jumped up, took Patrick Mahomes, made him sit and learn under Alex Smith for a year, and then granted him the greatest offensive mind of all time. That matters.
Yeah.
They also gifted him. He was also gifted with an amazing GM and an unbelievable culture that's been built. Oh, and also the second best tight end of all time, and a great offensive line.
Yeah,
and one of the greatest, most
of
dynamic wide receivers of all time.
Yeah.
That's not nothing. So when you guys get online and you tell me, oh, Rome Odunze would be the Lions wide receiver 2 right now, maybe even 1. No, sir. Jameson Williams, right now, for what it's worth, is better than all 4 of your wide receivers. Statistically.
Well, and from a rookie standpoint, no, 100%. And from a rookie standpoint too, a lot of it has to do with like when and where you're drafted, right? Like, for example, you and I
100%.
both admit that Rome Odunze is a good player. Like, there's no debating that.
No, Rome's fine.
But let me ask you something. Like, so far this year, Rome Odunze or Ladd McConkey?
Ladd McConkey, easy.
Right, but that was a whole round later.
Yeah.
Like, Rome Odunze or Brian Thomas Jr.?
BTJ, not even close.
Right, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, he was never going to be Marvin Neighbors, so at that point, pass until the next fucking round. You know what I mean?
Fully.
Like,
it's not even.
Him, but like there's an argument. Like, I think I told you this. Brian Thomas Jr. was my 3rd ranked receiver coming into this. I had him above Odunze. I think he's looked better. I think he's looked far more dynamic and explosive.
He definitely has.
But you're drafting a wide receiver 2 at 9 overall, who is a wide receiver 3 on your team. And it's like, that just doesn't make any sense when you have these holes. It's just been such a disaster, man.
Well, and the context matters there too. I mean, we have yet to see it, but, Rome Odunze has been a letdown. Jalen Polk has been a letdown thus far into their careers.
Yeah.
Jalen Polk?
Yeah, so far.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue Rome has. I mean, when you look at the numbers, right?
Yeah, he's
for a
shown
number
flashes.
9 pick. I don't believe that Rome is, but you could make this argument as, how is this kid drafted in top 10 and he's got 300 yards on the through 10 weeks? That's pretty terrible.
It's a valid question, though. It is
a valid question, but
especially when
at
that's
a
your
certain
roster
point,
with those two guys already on the team.
But at a certain point, we're going to have to ask ourselves, how nice was Michael Penix? Because these guys don't look any good in the NFL.
You and I had Michael Penix above Caleb in our rankings going into this.
I would have, and I think when it's all said and done, Michael Penix will be better than Caleb. I think Michael Penix, when he gets those keys, is going to have that motherfucker humming down there in Atlanta. They had him in for one preseason game, and we're like, "Yep, bet you're good,
and that's
Papa."
a team trending in the right direction. Totally,
100% it is, because there's a culture being built there.
Yes,
it was the most obvious thing in the world. You had Cliff Kingsbury who wanted to come in and be your OC, but allegedly, according to reports, Eberflus was a little turned off by his flashy persona.
Told you.
That's what makes Ryan Poles a bad GM, because if my coach is threatened by my OC, my coach got to go. Point blank period. My coach got to go. Also, this guy has done nothing but lose for the last 2 years. So why am I retaining you for one more year? Why am I going to hand you the number 1 overall pick and the number 9 overall pick and hope that you can figure this out when it was so obvious to go get somebody else? It was so obvious.
Well, and 100%, and you've now lost this year, and you're dealing with next year. You're fighting the uphill battle of I'm not starting from scratch with a rookie. I'm now undoing, like you saw with Bryce Young, bad think from year 1.
Bad think,
because I'm restarting with a new staff, and this guy's now got to, like, Caleb Williams confront all that he wants. This is bad, dude. Like,
it's bad.
This kind of shit fucks with your head, where you play like this game after game with these players in that fan base, in that market, with that hype. Ooh
Yep.
boy, it's gonna be
And
a
to and
long
to your
off season for him. And look,
well,
I
and to
think
your
he's a
point,
smart kid, and I think he can overcome. But he's only been a front runner in his career as a
only.
football player. This is new
Period.
territory, and whoever comes in, the mental side of sports is always overlooked, and it's super important here with this team. Whoever comes in next year as their head coach is going to have his work cut out for him of going,
100%.
I believe in you. You got to believe in you. Fuck the noise. Restart. Learn my offense. I think we can win games. And look, dude, the Vikings, they're going nowhere. They just drafted a quarterback who we haven't even seen yet, and their roster's loaded, and they have a real head coach. Detroit, best team in football, and it's not just because we're biased. They're the best team. You want to give Kansas City that title out of respect? That's fine.
Sure.
I'll take Detroit. And Green Bay
Detroit
is a very good team with a very legitimate head coach and a quarterback
Yes.
who has regressed this year, but I think is struggling with injury, who I think is also better than Caleb. I want to move on to our next team, but I did want to say that because I do think it is a scary, scary place to be for a team.
Well, and
victory lapped
real quick,
this
just circle back to what you said just for a second.
Yeah.
We just in the last 2 weeks seen Bryce Young play good football for the first time ever.
against
So you're
bad
talking
teams.
weeks 9 and 10 is when he finally seems to have gotten his confidence back just a little bit. That's a really scary position to be in. Because it's very on the table to start next year very poorly.
And you and I know I just said this, but I think you and I can both acknowledge, because we have an IQ of at least 6.
Yeah.
NFC South ain't the NFC North. So
Oh, fuck
you know what
no.
I mean? Bryce has got a little more runway there with that.
Yes, he does.